My girlfriend destroyed my rare comic book collection to save our relationship. Hey Reddit, I'm in complete shock and I need your help. My girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years, living together for the last 6 months. Everything was fine, well, at least I thought so. I'm a big comic book fan, I've been collecting them since childhood. I had a collection of rare editions, old Marvel and DC, first issues, limited editions, all in perfect condition in protective sleeves. I spent thousands of dollars and euros when I traveled to Europe on it. Plus, it's not just a hobby for me, it's a part of my life, memories of my childhood, when my father gave me my first comics. She always knew about this. Sometimes she joked that I spend too much time on these pieces of paper, but I didn't think it was serious. I don't spend all day with them, I just reread them sometimes. I store them in a separate room. We even watched comic book movies together sometimes, and she didn't seem to complain. And yesterday I come home from work and the entire collection is gone. I searched the apartment, called her, she was at work. When she came back, I asked, and she calmly said, I threw them away in the dumpster to save our relationship. I thought she was joking, but no. She explained that she feels like the comics are taking me away from her, that I'm too obsessed with the past, and that we need to focus on our future together, not on these childish things. She said it was for our own good, so that I would spend more time with her, and not in my own world. I am furious, this is not just paper, this is my property, worth at least 7,000. Some comics were rare, you can't just buy them again. I yelled, she cried and said that she loves me and wants us to be closer. Now she's apologizing but says it was necessary. I can't even look at her, slept on the couch. What do you advise, guys? I love her, but this is too much. Update 1. Thank you all for your comments on the original post. There were so many that I spent the whole evening reading them. Most of you are adamant that this is a huge red flag, and I'm starting to agree. Some even advised me to contact a lawyer or the police because it's property damage, and that sounds reasonable, but let's take it one step at a time. This morning, after a sleepless night on the couch where I replayed all our moments together in my head, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with her. We live in New York in a small apartment in Brooklyn where comics aren't rare. There are plenty of Marvel and DC fans here, and my collection was part of the local community. I started calmly. Listen, I can't just swallow this. This is not a joke, this is my life, my collection that I've been building for years since childhood, spending my savings from side jobs and salaries on it. How could you even think of such a thing? She lowered her eyes and started crying, muttering something like, I didn't want to hurt you, I thought it would help. I pressed, where did you even get such an idea? You're not crazy enough to just take and throw away things worth thousands of dollars. Did someone put you up to this? And that's when she broke down and confessed, the idea wasn't her own. Turns out her mom, this woman who has disliked me from the very beginning of our relationship, egged her on to do this. Her mom always considered me not a real man because of my hobbies. I remember at the first family dinner at her house in New Jersey, she snidely asked, and are comics your only achievement in life? Maybe it's time to grow up and do something serious like normal people our age. I laughed it off then, thought it was a joke, but no, she was serious. My girlfriend told me that last week she called her mom, complaining that we don't spend much time together. I sometimes sit in my comic room in the evenings, flipping through old issues to relax after work at the office. Her mom immediately latched on. You see, those pieces of paper are taking him away from you. A real man should focus on family, on the future, not on childish toys. If you want to save the relationship, get rid of that nonsense. I did the same at your age with your father, threw out his old baseball cards, and he became normal, started paying more attention to the family. My girlfriend listened because mom is always right. She's been through 2 marriages and knows how to keep a man in a big city like New York. She thought it was an act of love, to bring me back to reality and make our relationship stronger, especially considering how everyone here is obsessed with their careers and rarely finds time for each other. I sat and listened to this, feeling the blood freeze in my veins. This isn't just an impulsive act, it's a planned attack on my identity, with the involvement of a third party who doesn't even live with us. I said, are you serious? Instead of talking to me like an adult, you listen to your mom, who hates me. This is betrayal on 2 levels. You destroyed my property and let an outsider dictate our relationship in our own apartment. She was sobbing, begging for forgiveness, saying she loves me more than anything in the world, and that she now understands how stupid it was, especially in a cultural place like New York, where comics are art. But I couldn't just hug her, everything inside me was boiling. After the conversation, I called my best friend with whom I collected comics back in college here in Manhattan. He was furious. Bro, this is the end. If she lets her mom interfere in your life, it will only get worse. Remember my ex? Her mom decided what we had for dinner, and we broke up after a year of torment. He advised me to gather evidence, photos of the empty shelves, receipts for comic purchases from Comic Cons and online auctions, so that if needed, I could file a lawsuit for damages. I started digging through old boxes where I kept receipts. The first issue of Spider-Man from 1963, which I bought at an auction in San Diego for $1,500, the limited edition Batman, The Killing Joke with Alan Moore's autograph, all of it went into the dumpster. Damage estimate, at least $5,000, but emotionally, it's like losing a part of my identity, because I spent years on this, attending conventions, communicating with other collectors in local comic shops like Midtown Comics. I remembered how I started collecting as a teenager, buying first issues with my pocket money, and how this hobby helped me cope with the stresses of life in a big city. And now it's all in the trash, because someone's mom decided I'm infantile and not worthy of her daughter. My girlfriend offered to compensate. I'll take out a loan, buy new ones on eBay or in New York stores. But you can't just buy rare items like that. They are unique, and the market here is competitive. I said I needed time to think, and she went to work in tears, muttering that all couples in New York go through crises, but will get through it. Now I'm sitting alone, drinking coffee from Starbucks and thinking, is it worth fighting for a relationship where your boundaries are not respected? Or is this a sign that it's time to leave and find someone who appreciates my interests? Another point, her mom called last night, but I didn't pick up. What should I do about her? Ignore her forever or have it out with her? Some commenters say I need to talk to the mom directly to put her in her place. Others, that it's useless because such people don't change and will only add more drama to our already tense city life. I'm confused. Plus, I started looking for similar stories on Reddit, found a bunch of posts in r relationships and r/am I the asshole where partners destroyed hobbies, and in 90% of cases people broke up, especially in the USA, where personal boundaries are sacred. One guy wrote how his wife burned his collection of vinyl records because they take up too much space, and he left, now happy in a new relationship in Los Angeles. This is inspiring but scary. We were planning a future, talking about moving to the suburbs of New York, about children, and now everything is in question. If anyone has advice on the legal side, please share. In the US, this is considered property damage, and can I claim compensation through small claims court? I don't want to sue my loved one, but I can't stay silent either. I'm also thinking about therapy, maybe go to a psychologist together at one of the Manhattan centers, but first I need to decide if there is an us. There will be a continuation if something changes. Thank you for listening. It helps me not to go crazy in this frantic pace of New York. I even went for a walk around Times Square to clear my head, but my thoughts still revolve around this situation. I'll add that friends from the comic club offered to help restore the collection. One guy said he has duplicates of some issues, and we can exchange. This gives hope that the hobby won't die, even if the relationship falls apart. I also thought about how in American culture, comics aren't just childish things, but a billion-dollar industry with movies, series, and conventions, where people earn money from collections. Why doesn't her mom understand this? Maybe because she's from an older generation where such things were considered nonsense. Anyway, emotions are running high, and I'm trying to hold on. If you have similar stories from life in the States, share, it will help. Update 2. Wow, Reddit, you have no idea how your words are supporting me in this chaos. After Update 1, where I told you about the mom's role, comments poured in like from a horn of plenty, from run from her, to try to save it, but with conditions. I decided not to sit idly by and take action. First, I gathered all the remaining evidence. Photos of the shelves before and after, scans of receipts, I have a bunch of them in Google Drive, even correspondence with sellers of rare comics on sites like Heritage Auctions. One of them from eBay confirmed that my Amazing Fantasy 15 First Spider-Man was worth about $2,000 in that condition. Now it's lost forever, and in New York, where comic shops are on every corner, that hurts especially badly. I feel like I'm in a movie where the hero loses everything, but finds the strength to get up, especially in this city full of stories of overcoming. That same evening, I called her mom myself. Yes, I know many advised against poking that hornet's nest, but I couldn't stay silent. She answered the phone with a tone as if I was calling to beg for mercy. "Oh, it's you. What do you want?" I started calmly. "I know you advised your daughter to throw out my collection. This is none of your business. This is our life in New York, and you have no right to interfere from your home in New Jersey." She didn't even apologize. On the contrary, she went off. "You should be thanking me. Comics are for children, and you're a grown man. You should think about family, about work, not about pictures. My daughter deserves a normal partner, not a boy who spends money on nonsense in such an expensive city where rent eats up everything." I tried to argue. This is my property, a hobby that doesn't bother anyone. You destroyed a part of my life, and it's a crime, especially here where people sue for less. But she interrupted. A crime? Ha, it's an act of salvation. If you were mature, you would have gotten rid of that garbage yourself. And now don't whine, go to work like everyone else in Manhattan. I hung up because it was useless to continue. She's like a wall, full of prejudices from the last century. This conversation only intensified my anger. How did such a woman raise my girlfriend? After all, she wasn't always like this. At the beginning of the relationship, she even read comics with me, laughed at jokes in Deadpool, and we went together to Marvel premieres in Broadway theaters. And now, under her mom's influence, she turned into someone else who doesn't appreciate the cultural aspects of life in New York. When my girlfriend came home after work in the city center, I told her about the call. She was shocked. Why did you do that? Mom is angry with me now. We argued again, I said, and you expected me to stay silent. She egged you on to commit a crime, and you're defending her. If you can't put our relationship above her opinions, then it's over. I don't want to live with a person who lets their family dictate every step in our apartment in Brooklyn. She cried, went to the room, and then came out with a suitcase. I'll go to my parents for the night to think. I love you, but Mom is right about one thing we need to change, especially in such a fast-paced city. That was the last straw. She left, and I was left alone in an empty apartment where shelves with comics used to stand. Now there's emptiness, like in my soul after this betrayal. I called my sister. She's always been my voice of reason. She lives in Chicago, but we talk often. My sister said, "Bro, this is toxic. Her mom is manipulating her, and if your girlfriend doesn't cut that umbilical cord, you'll both suffer. Remember our family, Mom never interfered in my relationships, and it helped." We talked for an hour. She advised me to block the mom everywhere, pack my girlfriend's things, and think about breaking up, especially considering how independence is valued in the US. Meanwhile, I'm assessing the damage in more detail. About $4,000 lost just on rare editions, plus uniqueness. Some comics had autographs from conventions like New York Comic Con. I found a lawyer online, thanks to Reddit for recommendations. He said that in New York, this falls under property damage, and I can file in small claims court for compensation up to $5,000, but sue my ex. It's tough, but if she doesn't compensate voluntarily, I'll have to, because the legal system here works fast. My girlfriend called in the evening. I talked to my mom. She apologizes. Well, not really, but she says she went too far. Let's try again. I promise I won't listen to her anymore and will go to therapy at one of the centers in the city. But I replied, apologies. She didn't even say sorry to me personally, and you still left to go to her. I need time to think about our life here. Now she's texting me, please don't leave me. I'll do anything, even help restore the collection in local shops. But trust is broken. I'm thinking about the future. Maybe find a new apartment in Queens, start a collection from scratch. Friends invited me to a Comic Con on the weekend. Maybe it's a sign to start a new chapter in this vibrant city. Another aspect, I started reading books on relationship psychology, like Boundaries by Henry Cloud. It's exactly about not letting family destroy a couple, and it's relevant for American families. It's eye-opening about how the mom is manipulating. If she comes back, I'll set an ultimatum. No contact with her mom regarding our affairs, and compensation for damages via PayPal or something. But honestly, the chances are small. There are plenty of people in New York who appreciate hobbies. I feel drained but also liberated, as if I've taken off chains and can breathe freely in Central Park. To be continued if she comes back or something dramatic happens. Thanks for the support, guys. Without you, I would have broken down in this loneliness of the Big Apple. I'll add that I went to a comic shop on Union Square today, bought a couple of new issues. It's like therapy, helps to forget the pain. And also, many commenters are sharing stories from the US where similar incidents ended in breakups, but with a happy ending for collectors. This is motivating. If you have advice on restoring rare comics on online auctions, write. Update 3. Thank you all for the new comments. They've piled up to almost 100, and I'm trying to read each one so I don't feel like I'm in a vacuum. Many of you emphasize that such situations often end in a breakup, and give examples from your own lives or other posts where partners destroyed hobbies, and it was the beginning of the end. Some even referred to legal forums where they advised documenting everything for small claims court, and that made me think seriously. After update 2, where I told you about the call with the mom and how my girlfriend left for her parents, a day passed in complete silence. No calls, no messages, just the echo of our fights in my head. I spent it trying to distract myself. Went for a walk, dropped by my favorite comic shop where the owner, an old acquaintance, asked why I looked so gloomy. I briefly told him and he shook his head. Dude, that's a classic. People don't understand that collecting isn't a childish pastime. It's an investment and a passion. I had a client recently who broke up over something similar. Her boyfriend threw out her vinyl, and she sued 12K. This prompted me to action. I sat down at the computer and started making a list of what was lost. Amazing Spider-Man 1 in good condition, about $1,800. Uncanny X-Men 94, $1,200, plus a bunch of small but rare issues like Watchmen First Prints. The total came to $5,500, and that's not including the emotional value, since I collected this since my teenage years, spending on auctions and conventions. I remembered how in college I saved on lunches to buy a rare Hulk 181 with the first Wolverine, and now, all in the dumpster because of someone's act of love. In the evening the phone rang. It was her. Her voice was trembling. "Can I come over? I've been thinking, and you're right, Mom shouldn't interfere. I'll tell her to back off." I agreed but warned, "That doesn't mean everything is forgot. We need to have a serious talk." She arrived an hour later with red eyes and a bouquet of flowers cheap from the supermarket, but the gesture was there. We sat in the kitchen and she began, "I was an idiot. Mom always pressures me since childhood, do as I say or you'll lose everything. But I love you and I want to fix this. Let me pay for new comics, I'll get a side job." I replied, "It's not just about the money. You broke the trust, you let your mom manipulate you. Why didn't you talk to me first? We could have found a compromise. Maybe I would have spent less time on the collection, but not so radically." She nodded, crying, "I was afraid you would choose the comics over me. Mom said men are like that, they cling to the past. But now I see that this is a part of you, and I don't want to change you by force." We talked for a couple of hours. I told her how my hobby helps me relax after a stressful job. She shared how she feels lonely when I go into my own world. It seemed like there was a chance. She even suggested going to therapy together to deal with her dependence on her mom's advice. But then her phone rang. Her mom. She didn't answer, but a minute later a message came. "What are you doing? He's manipulating you. Comics are nonsense, and you're sacrificing everything for him." I saw it by accident when she turned away, and I exploded. "You see, she won't stop. Until you set a boundary, nothing will change." She blocked her mom right in front of me, saying, "This is for us." We went to sleep in the same bed, but I couldn't sleep. Thoughts were spinning. What if this is temporary? What if her mom finds another way to interfere? In the morning, she went to work, promising to discuss compensation in the evening. Meanwhile, I contacted a lawyer based on recommendations from the comments. He confirmed that in our state, I can file a claim for intentional destruction of property, but advised trying to settle it amicably first to avoid drama in court. I also dug deeper on Reddit, found a post in r/legal advice where a guy won a case against his ex who burned his books. The court awarded full compensation plus moral damages. This is inspiring, but sad. I don't want to go there with someone I loved. Friends are calling. One offers to help find replacements through his connections in collector circles. Another, just to come over and support me morally. I'm thinking about the future. If we save the relationship, then with conditions, no outside interference, and she helps restore the collection. But inside I have doubts. Trust is like glass, once cracked. It's hard to glue back together. Another point, I started writing down my emotions in a diary. As advised in the comments, it helps to sort things out. If she comes back in the evening and everything goes smoothly, maybe I'll give it a chance. But if her mom interferes again, it's over. To be continued. Thank you for being here. Your stories give me the strength not to give up. I'll add that I bought one new comic today, just to feel a taste of normality. Emotions are still on edge, from hope to anger and back. If anyone has had similar turnarounds, share. How did you regain trust, or is it impossible? Update 4. Reddit, you are my anchor in this madness. Comments keep pouring in and many of them hit the mark. Don't give a second chance if boundaries aren't respected, or try, but with a compensation contract. After Update 3, where she came over and blocked her mom, the evening passed relatively calmly. We ordered pizza, watched a movie, not a comic one, to avoid triggers, and she apologized again. I understand now how selfish it was. Let's make a plan. I'll return the money in installments, and we'll go to a therapist. I nodded, but inside I was on guard, too many ifs. I woke up in the morning to noise. She was talking on the phone in the bathroom in a whisper. I overheard by chance, "Mom, please don't call anymore. I'm trying to fix this." It turns out her mom created a new number and got through. I walked in and asked, "What's going on?" She turned pale. "She won't leave me alone, says I'm stupid if I stay with the comic book boy." That was the last straw, I said. "You see, you block her and she finds a way. Until you break this completely, we can't." We had a fierce argument. She yelled that she loves her mom and can't just cut her out of her life. I replied that it doesn't mean letting her destroy ours. In the end, she packed her things and went back to her parents, throwing out, "Maybe Mom is right, you're too fixated on your pieces of paper." The door slammed and I was left alone, with a feeling of relief mixed with pain. I immediately called my friend. "It's over, help me pack her stuff." We packed boxes, her clothes, cosmetics, and I sent a message. "Pick up your things by the end of the week or I'll put them out on the street." She replied, "Okay, but think again. I can change." But I was firm no. The next few hours I spent taking action, changed the locks, just in case, as advised in the comments, blocked her everywhere, and started the process for the court. The lawyer said, "Gather all the evidence, photos, receipts, witnesses. In small claims, this will go through max $5,000, but you can win." I drafted a statement, a detailed list of comics, their market value from sites like Comic Vine and eBay, plus a description of the incident. Emotionally, it's draining. I remember how happy I was with each find, and now I'm counting the losses. The total is $4,800, and I intend to claim it. Friends are supportive. One brought beer. We sat and discussed. "You're great for not forgiving. Such things show true character." I also dropped by the comic shop, bought a couple of new issues, the beginning of recovery. I remembered a story from Reddit. A guy in a similar situation filed a lawsuit and started a new collection, now happy with a girlfriend who shares his hobby. This is motivating. I'm also thinking about therapy for myself, to figure out why I didn't notice the red flags earlier, the dependency on her mom. In the evening, I got a message from her friend. She's crying, says she regrets it. "Maybe talk," I replied. "No, it's too late. Let her compensate for the damage and that's it." Now I'm planning the future, maybe move to a new apartment so it doesn't remind me of the past, or even go to a Comic-Con to get a change of scenery. I feel free. No one will judge my interests anymore. Thank you all for the advice, from legal to emotional. Without you, I probably would have given in and forgiven. If the court happens, I'll write an update. For now, life goes on and my collection will be reborn stronger. I'll add that I started a wish list for comics, the first one on it, a replacement for that Spider-Man to close the gestalt. Emotions have subsided, but a lesson for life. Boundaries are sacred. If anyone has been to court over something similar, share your experience. Final update. Reddit, this is my final update. Thank you to everyone who followed this saga, commented, and shared their stories. Your words helped me get through this shit without completely breaking down. After update 4, where I decided to break everything off and file a lawsuit, about a month has passed. Time flies when you're busy with legal matters and rebuilding your life. Many of you warned that such situations rarely end peacefully, and you were right. It turned into a mini-drama, but with a happy ending for me. Let's take it step by step so you understand everything. First, I finished gathering evidence, as advised in the comments and on r/legal advice. I had before photos of the shelves from old selfies with the collection, after photos empty cabinets, scans of receipts from eBay, heritage auctions, and local shops, all dated with prices, plus correspondence with her where she admits to throwing the things out, and even that message from her mom that I screenshotted. The lawyer found through recommendations here said, "It's a strong case. This is an intentional tort, deliberate damage to personal property. Chances are high in small claims court, especially if she doesn't contest it." I filed a claim for $5,000, the maximum for our state without a full trial, listing the exact list. Spider-Man 1, $1,800, Batman. The Dark Knight Returns first print, $800, a bunch of X-Men and indie comics for the rest. Emotionally, it was tough listing each loss as a commodity, when for me they were stories that shaped my personality since my teenage years. I remembered how at 16, I bought my first rare issue with pocket money from a side job, and how this hobby became an outlet from the stresses of adult life. And now, legal documents instead of superhero panels. She found out about the lawsuit a week later. A notification came. She called hysterically. "Are you serious? We loved each other. It's not about the money, it's about our relationship." I replied calmly. "You destroyed my property, didn't apologize for real, and let your mom run the show. Money is the minimum you can return." She tried to bargain. "Let's settle out of court. I'll pay half and maybe we can try again." But I refused. Trust was gone, and your comments reminded me. Don't let her manipulate you. It's classic narcissism. Her mom, of course, got involved, sent a letter via mail, old school, with a lecture about male maturity and a threat to shame me in court. The lawyer laughed. "This will only strengthen our case," shows motive. I blocked all possible channels, including her friends who wrote, "Give her a chance." The court day was surreal. Small claims, like a TV show, but without cameras. The judge, an elderly woman, listened to me. I showed the evidence, explained the value, brought printouts from comic grading sites like CGC Values, talked about the emotional damage, but emphasized the material one. She came with her mom, a big mistake, and they tried to justify themselves. It was an act of care. "He's too obsessed with these childish books. We wanted to help the relationship." The judge interrupted. "Miss, you have no right to decide about someone else's property. This is not care, it's vandalism." Her mom butted in. "But comics are trash," the judge sternly. "For you maybe, for him value. The law deals with facts." In the end, they awarded me $4,200. They reduced it a bit for lack of perfect evidence on a couple of items, but still a victory. She cried, her mom raged, but the judge warned them about contempt. I walked out with a check in prospect. She has to pay within 30 days, otherwise enforcement. After that, relief. The money will go towards restoration. I've already bought replacements for a couple of comics on online auctions, and friends from the collector circle gave me duplicates out of friendship. One guy from the comic club said, "Bro, it's like a plot from a comic. The villain is defeated, the hero is reborn." I even went to therapy a couple of times to figure out why I didn't notice the toxicity earlier. The therapist noted, "You were attracted to a manipulator because you ignored the flags, but now you know better." Emotions subsided, from anger to acceptance. I'm not angry with her anymore, I pity her, but the lesson is learned. Now for the good stuff, life is getting better. I moved to a new apartment, the old one reminded me of the past, set up a room for the collection again with better protection like locked cabinets. I started going to comic conventions more often, met a bunch of cool people. And drumroll, I met a girl at one of the events. She's a fan too, collects indie comics like Saga and Paper Girls. We chat for hours about storylines without judgment. It's early, but it's refreshing. She respects boundaries, and her mom, if she has one, doesn't interfere. Your stories inspired me. Remember that post in Our Relationships where a guy after a similar breakup found love among fans? Same thing. As for her, I heard through mutual acquaintances. She had a fight with her mom, blames her for the breakup, but that's their problem. I don't communicate, and that's for the best. Final lesson, hobbies are a part of you, and if a partner doesn't respect that, run. Thank you, Reddit, for the support. Without you, I wouldn't have made it. If anyone is in a similar situation, write in the comments, I'll advise. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new stories.